The hum of the airplane cabin was soft, blending with the quiet murmur of passengers settling into their seats. A calm had settled over the flight, a brief moment of peace before takeoff. But that peace was about to shatter. "You'll have to move. My child needs the window seat." The cold, sharp voice sliced through the air like a blade. Heads turned, and an uneasy silence followed. Passengers exchanged glances, some curious, others uncomfortable. A few turned away, pretending not to hear, hoping to stay out of whatever was coming. Standing in the narrow aisle was a white woman, impeccably dressed in a beige cardigan and designer jeans. Her icy blue eyes bored into the young black woman seated by the window. Her hand rested firmly on the shoulder of a little girl, no older than 8, clutching a pink unicorn backpack. But what no one in that cabin could have guessed was how quickly the situation would reverse, and who would walk away humbled by it. Chapter 1. The First Step. Sierra Dawson, 17 years old and already carrying the hopes of a family, adjusted her backpack beneath her seat. Row 14, Seat C. She had chosen this spot carefully, close enough to the aisle for comfort, but with a good view of the wing if she wanted it. Not that she was nervous about flying. No, Sierra was calm. It was the weight of what lay ahead that made her chest feel tight. This wasn't just another flight from Philadelphia to Chicago. It was the first step toward her biggest academic challenge yet, the National Scholars Invitational, a competition that brought together the country's brightest students. Winning would mean a scholarship, not just any scholarship, but one that would take her straight to Yale. A golden key to unlock a door she had dreamed about her whole life. Her mother had cried when Sierra told her she had made it. Joyce Dawson was a nurse who worked double shifts most weeks. There had been sacrifices too many to count to get Sierra here. Her mother had never complained. She had simply smiled and said, "Go show them what you're made of." And her math teacher, Mr. Hernandez, had squeezed her shoulder the day before she left and whispered, "Don't let anyone make you think you don't belong." Sierra smiled faintly at the memory, unzipping her backpack and pulling out her notes. She flipped through pages filled with math formulas, historical timelines, and vocabulary lists. She had booked this seat specifically, hoping for a quiet flight to focus on last-minute studying. But life had different plans. Chapter 2. The Encounter. The sound of footsteps drew closer. Sierra barely glanced up until a shadow fell over her notebook. A woman stood there, hand resting on the shoulder of her young daughter. "Excuse me," the woman said. Her voice was smooth, practiced, confident. "My daughter needs the window seat. Would you mind switching seats with her?" Sierra blinked. The window seat. Her seat. She glanced at the placard above, 14C, reserve in her name. She was no stranger to this kind of request. It wasn't really a request at all. It was the tone, the assumption that Sierra would comply. She had felt it in classrooms, stores, even walking down certain streets. The tone of expectation, not consideration. "I'm sorry," Sierra said, keeping her voice polite but firm. "I reserved this seat in advance. I needed to study." For a moment, the woman just stared, as if the very concept of refusal was foreign to her. "My daughter is anxious about flying," the woman said, lowering her voice to a hushed tone. Loud enough, however, for nearby passengers to hear. "She needs to be by the window to feel safe. Surely your studying isn't as important as a child's comfort." The guilt trip was clear. Sierra took a steady breath. "I understand," she replied, calm as ever. "But I also need this seat. Maybe the flight attendant can help you find another solution." There it was, the flicker of disdain in the woman's eyes. She gave Sierra a slow, deliberate once-over from her natural curls, tied neatly back to her notebook resting on her lap. A calculating glance, then the faintest sneer. "So selfish," the woman muttered, turning away. "Kids these days." Sierra said nothing, but her hands clenched beneath her notebook. She had heard those words before, too many times. Chapter 3. The Escalation. It didn't end there. The woman turned sharply to catch the attention of a passing flight attendant. "Excuse me," she called. "We have a problem." The air shifted. Tension crackled like static. Passengers turned again, their gazes moving from the woman to Sierra. Sierra's heart thudded harder. She recognized this moment. A young black woman and an aggrieved white mother. She had lived through it before, and it never seemed to end well. The flight attendant, a young woman named Maddie Tran, approached with a practiced smile. "Good evening. How can I help?" "This girl," the woman began, her tone brittle but laced with mock politeness, "is refusing to switch seats with my daughter. She's terrified of flying, and she needs the window to feel safe." Maddie glanced at Sierra, then back at the woman and her daughter. "Let me check the seating chart," she said, pulling up her tablet. "Your seat is 15D, correct?" "Yes, but it would be better for her to sit here." Maddie turned back to Sierra. "And you are in 14C?" "Yes," Sierra said. "I booked it weeks ago. I need the space to study. I'm competing in a national academic event tomorrow." Maddie nodded. "Then it's your seat. If there's an issue, we can ask if another passenger is willing to swap, but you have every right to stay." The woman's expression soured. "So the comfort of a child doesn't matter anymore?" she snapped. "Ma'am," Maddie said, still professional but with a hint of firmness, "all passengers have the right to sit in their assigned seats. I'm happy to help you find another option." The woman's eyes hardened. "Unbelievable," she muttered. She pulled her daughter back toward the rear of the plane, her head held high, but her steps stiff. Sierra exhaled slowly. The cabin was quiet again, but not truly calm. She could feel the stares, the judgment, both sympathetic and skeptical. Chapter 4, A New Ally. "You handled that well," came a voice from beside her. Sierra turned to see the young man in the seat next to hers. He was tall, with warm brown eyes and a quiet confidence. "Name's Xavier Reed," he said, extending a hand. "Sierra Dawson," she replied, shaking it. Xavier smiled. "I've never seen anyone make someone like her back off that gracefully." Sierra allowed herself a small smile. "I doubt she's done." "Maybe not," Xavier said, "but you didn't budge. That counts." As the flight took off, they talked. About the competition, about college dreams. Xavier was heading to Chicago for a conference on educational equity. He understood her world. He lived it too. And for the first time that day, Sierra felt less alone. Chapter 5, The Shock. The conference hall in Chicago was massive, its glass walls reflecting the city skyline. Sierra entered with purpose, her backpack slung over one shoulder. She was ready, until she saw her. Karen Ellison, the woman from the plane, now wearing an ID badge that read, "Judge." Sierra's stomach dropped. Their eyes met. Karen's polite smile barely hid the glint of cold recognition. "Well," Karen said smoothly, "we meet again." Chapter 6, The Competition. Sierra fought to focus. The first round was a written exam. She aced it, her name appearing second on the leaderboard. Karen's face when Sierra's score flashed on the screen was a mask of forced politeness. The next round was a debate. Karen was on the judging panel. Sierra knew the question aimed at her was a trap. How would you reform education without disadvantaging high-performing students? But Sierra didn't flinch. "Education isn't zero-sum," she said. "We can lift others without holding anyone back." The room was silent. Then came a few nods. Even Julian Carter, another judge, smiled approvingly. Karen's grip on her pen tightened. Chapter 7, The Gala. That night, Sierra attended a gala hosted by the Davenport Foundation. Xavier accompanied her, both of them knowing it wasn't just a party, it was another battlefield. Karen was there too, but Sierra had allies now. Julian Carter, who promised fairness. Elizabeth Wong, another judge who offered mentorship. Karen tried her subtle digs, but Sierra stood her ground. And when Julian publicly praised Sierra's debate performance, Karen could only smile stiffly. Chapter 8, The Final Round. The last challenge was an open debate. Sierra delivered her argument with precision and passion. Karen's question was another trap, but Sierra turned it into a statement of unity and progress. When the results were announced, Sierra's name was called. Winner. The applause was thunderous. Karen's face was pale. Chapter 9, Victory and Beyond. The next day, Sierra's inbox was full. Yale, Harvard, Stanford, all wanted to interview her. At a cafe, Xavier smiled. Told you, he said. They talked about starting something bigger. A movement for education equity. A future where no one had to fight alone. Chapter 10. Justice Earned. Back home, Sierra reflected on everything. The battle wasn't over. Karen Ellison was just one of many. But Sierra wasn't afraid anymore. She wrote in her journal, "Justice doesn't come naturally. It must be earned." And she was ready. What about you? If you were Sierra, how would you have handled Karen? Share your thoughts below. If you enjoyed this story, like, share, and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching.